on. I'm like scared. Please be here, B. Please be here.
I don't see anyone.
And no one's here. How can this cathedral be completely empty?
So, you've arrived at last.
Oh, I think that's Rosine, right? Okay. Oh, you are Fourth the Leaves Chapel, Sister Rosine. I had heard rumors, but wait, so what Gaius and Emma were talking about? I was somewhat expecting you to show up here, but your main objective is different, right?
Yes, it's good to see you all again. Please, come in. They're waiting for you just over there.
They? It's not just Thomas. Who are they? Thomas?
Ah, I'm glad you all finally made it.
Oh, Thomas, you look cool.
The church has decided this issue now merits the attention of the Congregation for the Sacraments. As such, the Archbishop and all the staff here have been moved to another location.
Oh. Huh. You are... I get it now. He said they, it's just Thomas. But he looks so cool. Huh? You are the former instructor from Thor's main campus? Thomas?
Thank you for all your diligence, Rosine.
She said they, you are not plural.
I'd feel much better if you were to stand watch over the front door now, just in case.
Yes, understood. Leave it to me.
He looks super cool. What was all that about? Yes, this was pretty shocking to us too.
Let me introduce you. This man is a member of the Gralsritter, a division of the Septian Church. He's the second in command, in fact. Thomas Lysander.
Yeah. Wait a second. It should not have been cooler without knowing that. Like, you guys told me to watch the extra cutscene. Well, they put it on there. Okay, no, it was necessary to understand the other conversation.
He holds the seat of Second Dominion and is sometimes known by his title, the Partitioner.
Gralsritter? They are an armored knight organization that is run by the church. I'd heard that female terrorist S was once among their ranks. Wait a minute. Gaius, does this mean... Are you...
Now allow me to introduce you. This man is one of the Gralsritter's 12 Dominion.
Like last video I was like he went there to practice learn. Then I'm like, is he a Dominion? And then I'm like, Dominion can be manifested on people like it happened to Kevin, like he didn't have, and for nowhere.
The successor to the 8th Dominion, Gaius Worzel.
But why? Is this why we couldn't get a hold of you for the past 6 months?
Yeah, a lot happened all at once. After graduating from Thors, I returned to Nord and began observing the struggle between Erebonia and Calvert. However, I began to feel something dark and sinister carried on the winds of the plateaus. I consulted my father and the chief, and eventually my old teacher, Father Barkhorn, came to visit. You might remember the name. He was the traveling priest we chased after during the Civil War. But it turns out, he was also the 8th Dominion of the Gralsritter, with the title the Roaring Lion.
Oh!
He was an extremely skilled knight who investigated the Salt Pale in Northumbria and trained Brigadier General Bardius. Apparently, he was worried, and came to Nord to check up on me. He explained to me that what I had been sensing was called the Gale of Ruin. I'm not sure why I'm able to sense it. Maybe it's because I'm a descendant of those who fought alongside the Lionheart Emperor. I mentioned this to him and he came to a realization. But then it happened.
Wow.
A Calvardian ship that broke past the 7th Armored Division attacked my village. My father was away at the time. I fought back in an attempt to protect my family, but it was no use. Right as I prepared myself for death, my teacher threw his huge body in the way to protect me. And as he lay there dying, he passed his stigma onto me.
Can you pass his stigmas? Oh my...
Across the nearly 1,000-year history of the Grolsritter, its highest-ranking members have each borne one of 12 sacred markings. This was one of those markings.
The Roaring Lion. I heard that name many times. He saved many people who were affected by the disaster in Northumbria. Yes, among the current Dominion members, he was the most veteran. And after the stigma was passed to Gaius, I took him to Holy City of Arteria, where he received night training, hence his half-year of silence. I see. If that's what was happening, you should have told us. Okay, they need to... Don't yell at him. Yeah, we could have helped you. Okay. It's okay, everything happened so quickly. I did everything I had to do and finished my night training. Last month, Jessy was finally able to reach me. The power that I have received from my master. With it, I will save the Empire, my second home. Gaius. God damn it. Shush. You have always been so grand and reliable. Thank you. Please. Wow. I'll give you my all. Seeing someone like him put us under even more pressure, yeah, the gap isn't just in age or experience. This group certainly has become awfully formidable. Not really. We're still training just as much as you guys. I have a ways to go before I reach the heights of my predecessor, and speaking of which...
Grandmother! Stop hiding! Come out already! You're the one who called us here in the first place, aren't you?
I only hid myself so as not to interrupt your discussion.
She did say she helped the church before, and I don't see why she will be against them. You are Emma's grandmother. The elder of the witches, Roselia, was it?
Indeed. But you may simply call me Rose.
Okay, Rose.
I had you all gather here for one reason. To explain to you the background between the Hexen clan and the church.
I see, so that's how it is. But aren't the witches opposed to the church?
It's not as though we don't believe in Adios. There have been some differences in opinion over the years, but we and the church have worked together on a number of occasions.
For example, during the War of the Lions, or the vampire incident in the Middle Ages. Not to mention the fight against the Dark Dragon 800 years ago.
But all that was just Rose sticking her nose into other people's business.
What? Wait, so you were involved in all that?
Legend has it, Emperor Dreikel's camp was once visited by a good witch. And the novel Red Moon Rose features a vampire hunter affiliated with the church who was, in truth, the true ancestor of the vampires. The woman you now see before you was both of these people, even if she looks a bit different.
I'm glad I didn't read the novel or anything like that. How old are you exactly?
800 or so. However, you should know that my situation is somewhat unique. All other witches are normal humans. Except, of course, for the fact that they are all descendants of those who once guarded the Septarian of Fire.
What? What? Is that the one in Erebonia? Is the same as the Aurelio of Liberan. That's the one on Erebonia! The Septarians, the seven gifts bestowed on humanity by Adius. It said that they were all lost during the Great Collapse. They are the things Ouroboros has been trying to get their hands on all this time. Yeah, now for the main topic. Wow. Now, where to begin? Grandmother, we don't know anything beyond this. Don't leave out any details, make sure you explain it fully. I second that request, I don't know the details either. Let's see, Rosalia, perhaps we should take turns talking. It's very well, that will suffice. I'm sure you have noticed by now, but there is a front and back to this empire. The spirit veins are directly affected by the turbulence of the government and war, and that causes cryptids and powerful monsters from other planets to stir. That explains it then. As the empire's territory spreads, so will they. The Pleromar grass and magic knights, where did they come from in the first place? Well, to begin, Pleromar grass is a mana grass from the higher planes. Its own serve as the eyes and ears of the Cemeteries of Mirage. Here. Normally it's blue, but after the incident in Crossbell, it all vanished. That is until after Crossbell became part of the Empire, at which point it began reappearing in this new scarlet shade. And the implications are rather chilling. I'm good at chilling. It changed color to match the Infernal Castle perhaps, and the Septarian of Fire. I suppose fire is red. There is undoubtedly a connection. As for the Magic Knights, you may have heard before, but they are golems from the Dark Age. They were created by the mages of the Empire to fight against the Divine Knight. During the Civil War, something caused them to stir once more, and they now appear in Crossbell via the Spirit Path. No way. That will also explain the increased incident with crypts recently. What you gonna ask? What about the society? The Phantasma Blaze plan. They sought to use Crossbell's false Phantasma to awake the blaze in Erebonia. At least that's what I heard. Seriously? So that's their plan, to awake the Septarian of Fire? Where did you hear that? Well, last night I heard it from the Chancellor himself. He told me other intriguing things too, but I feel like he intentionally left out some of the more important details. I see. I heard you talk to him, but... It seems Ouroboros' work in Crossbell 2 years ago was to bring about some kind of change in Erebonia. Just so you know, Crossbell Mirage Septarian Reign was our artificial created fake. Yeah, it was stronger than the original, but the society had no interest in it. Where I do harvester, I guess, their goal is to acquire the two treasures that original existed here. The Septarians of Fire and Earth that once called the land of Erebos home. The Septarians of Fire and Earth. So Liber had the Septarium of Space, and Crossbell of Mirage, and Erebonia had 2. We got 4. Hold on a second. Emma, if the witches are the descent of the people of the Guardian of the Septarium of Fire... Yes, the Black Workshop and the Genomes are the same people. The descent of those who guard the Septarium of Earth, they are counterparts. Much like the royal Worzel's family of Liber and the Croix's family in Crossbell. In addition, you may be aware that each Septarian has its own holy beast assigned to watch over it. Yeah, Liber the dragon, Crossbell the wolf. Do we have one, or that's the Divine Knights? The bear had an ancient dragon, Crossbell had a divine wolf, and it had 2 Septirons. Erebony had 2 holy beasts as well. However, after the Great Collapse, each of them vanished alongside the... Oh! That's the core of the issue. The 2 Septirons, the 2 groups of people who worship them, and the 2 holy beasts. So that means... I in one video did say like, maybe the genomes got a Seption or an artifact, that's what I said, for their doing what they do. The Septirons and holy beasts disappear and the people change their names. What happened in Erebonia? Allow me to reveal to you the truth behind the land of Erebos. This story still relies on a modicum of speculation. Please keep that in mind.
In the beginning, this land housed 2 of the Septarian. The Arc Rouge, Septarian of fire and wielder of fierce power. The Lost Zem, Septarian of earth and bearer of unyielding endurance. Each assumed the form of a colossal guardian and went about granting boons and performing miracles for its people. For a few centuries, the land of Erebonia prospered. But eventually, its people began to vie for power and control. The Septarians had always granted their people's wishes. But now, their peoples each wished for the other's destruction. And so, the 2 colossi began fighting. Their battle ravaged the earth and split the sky, devastating the entire region. The humans tried to stop them, but it was in vain. The Septarians' fight continued 1,000 days, scorching the land black. When the battle ended at long last, it was a tie. Exhausting their power in one final strike, the 2 Septarian were blown away, left as nothing but empty shells. Yet the tale did not end there.
The power expelled by each Septarian collided and became one, resulting in the creation of an entirely new entity. The Great One, the Septarian of Steel. It was an existence created from the union of fire and earth. It was beyond anything else in this realm. It was the ultimate source of power. Though things seemed fine at first, the survivors of the war soon realized the eternal conflict within it. They knew this conflict would cause it to grow ever more unstable, and that it was not something that could be handled by mankind.
With the Holy Beast's assistance, the kins of fire and earth joined together to see the Great One sealed away. However, each of their attempts ended in failure. Left with no other options, they resorted to their final plan. The Great One would remain whole in the higher plane, yet its physical incarnation in this world split into numerous shards. It was this final gambit that saw disaster averted.
Indeed, their combined efforts bore fruit.
Are those the Divine Knights then?
The Kin of Earth created 7 vessels, while the Kin of Fire split the Great One's power and infused each vessel with a part of it.
Yes.
7 dolls in the form of knights, each bearing the Great One's power, the Divine Knights.
I remember something about the division of the power in the Black Records on Cold Steel 2. Wow, that is beyond fathomable. I was told about this in the bits and pieces, but... So all that happened, that wasn't a fairy tale, right? At the very least, something similar happened. So what happened after that? And why did Valimar and the other Divine Knights start fighting? This is as far as the story that was passed down goes. So the King of Fire became the Hexen clan and the King of Air became the Genomes. They split the unstable ultimate power into 7, then both sides decided to watch over the reconstruction after the Great Collapse. Oh, and by the way, many people from each kingship have since abandoned their roles. They joined together, started accepting people from the surrounding area and created the foundation of what became Erebonia. This is around the same time the Septian Church was spreading across Erebonia. 1300 years passed and the Arnor family established the city of Hemildor. That's when the disaster of the Dark Dragon occurred.
900 years ago, Heimdall was a small city of only about 50,000 people. However, it was one of the burgeoning centers of culture for the region. The Septian Church had finished construction on the Heimdall Cathedral, and there were plans to develop the city even further. But it was then the Dark Dragon appeared, blanketing Heimdall in miasma and transforming it into a city of the dead. Emperor Astorius chose to lead his people south and made St. Arc the new capital of Erebonia.
In helping Emperor Astorius deal with this crisis, the Hexen clan and gnomes each suffered substantial losses. The Hexen clan lost its elder, and the gnomes their holy beast. And so ended their alliance. The final time they spoke would be a century later. It was when Emperor Hector awakened the Vermilion Night to reclaim Heimdall from the Dark Dragon. He did so at the urging of the chief of the gnomes and the new elder of the Hexen clan, myself. However, the Emperor fell to the Dark Dragon's miasma, and the Vermilion Night to its curse. The Emperor's son had the chief of the gnomes and myself seal the cursed night deep below the Imperial Palace. That would be the last act our two clans performed together. I do not know why, but the gnomes cut off contact with our clan and hid themselves away. In the 800 years that followed, whenever war struck Erebonia, a divine knight would enter the stage, demonstrate its might, then vanish. I was certain the gnomes were involved, yet all we could do was guide awakeners on the proper course. This unending pattern reached its most fevered peak 250 years ago during the War of the Lions. The false Emperor Orthros unearthed the cursed Vermilion Night, and a mercenary under Prince Lucius' employ awakened the Palatinate Night. Prince Dreichels found the Ashen Night, and Leanne the Argent Night. The four awakened at once, made for a grand war indeed.
So that's how things connect. There are so many parts to this history I want to question, but... So Emma's grandmom was around during the War of the Lions. A good witch. I read about them in fairy tales. As the princess guide, I accompanied the racial camp. I remember those days. I used to be quite the beauty. All I mean to say is that the art depictions of me are not inaccurate. As stated earlier, the elder of the witches isn't a normal human. So you have been watching over the clan after becoming an immortal being. Yes, however, I only came into existence 800 years ago. My predecessor perished soon after war, and I do not have many memories from before that point. So naturally, there are things that I still do not know. But there are things that you do know about. Such as how you say the Maiden Lane was the awakener of the Argent Knight, and whether or not she's in Ouroboros Steel Maiden. That's true, you could confirm so many things. Is it her? Of that much, I am certain. She was the daughter of a count who met the Wandering Prince and later challenged the Apocalypse only to lose her life. However, before that happened, it was I who guided Leanne to become the Argent Awakener. But Leanne knew her powers were too great, so she kept them hidden away. It was only during her battle with Apocalypse that she unleashed her full might. In the end, however, she was fatally injured and passed away after the war. Then, half a year later, I witnessed her revival, along with your ancestor, Arcade, second in command of the Ancestor. So that's why. Were you the one who revived them, grandmother? Yeah, that's what I'd like to know too. After Leanne passed, I thought it strange how her body did not rot. So it took her body back to the village, and half a year later, she simply woke up. I assumed she had become an immortal thought. I could not say when or how. Maybe it had something to do with her connection with the Divine Night, and that will explain about Crow too. Leanne realized what was happening to her. So she left Erebonia to walk the earth without even telling her love thresholds. She left Legram to Arcade, her right-hand man. I occasionally met with her wherever she came around, but the last time was 20 years ago. That's when she met Ouroboros' Grandmaster, who brought her into the fold. Thank you for your sharing this. There are some things that can't be overlooked. Yeah, we've seen too many incredible things over the last few months. So the boss and Crow were both... As I said earlier, we had no idea what specifically happened. I think the key is the Divine Night. The Jagger King was not an Awakener when he was alive. On the other hand, Rachel was an Awakener, but he did not become immortal. He has remained dead. Never mind then, that's right. Instructor Rin isn't immortal, is he? Right, he's still been growing since graduation. Yeah, I may have some weird powers, but at a different age. Is there a common reason? The heart. I believe there are only two people who knows the truth. The current Chancellor Gillian Osborne and Chief of the Genome Black Alberich. So that's the leader of the Black Workshop. Yes, though I do not believe he's an immortal like me. The leadership of the genome is somehow passed down from one to the next, in order to them to achieve their goal for bringing about the Great Twilight. The Great Twilight? This is the first time I hear about that, but is that the fairy tale of the end that Vita was talking about? Yes, 200 years ago, as we were going our separate ways, that is what the chief of the genomes told the prince and me. It was as if he was foretelling a future where everything ends. Wait, it's too much similar to the direction the Empire is heading. Let me add to this. The reason Parkhor and I were in Erebonia was because we discovered an anomaly. The spirit winds were being distorted all over the continent, and the source seemed to emanate from the Empire. It was like a ripple effect. The incident in Liberon Crossbell, as well as the civil war in Erebonia, only served to further increase the distortions. They continued to get larger after Crossbell and Northumbria were folded into the Empire, and larger again when the cryptids and magic knight of Erebonia appeared in Crossbell. On the other hand, Plemora grass, which is native to Crossbell, started blooming in the Empire. If the Great Twilight really is about to happen, then all of this seems to be an omen of things to come. Who is the Alberich person? He used the masked man as his agent and hired the Jagger King, who is supposed to be dead. Are there other genomes out there? Well, your dear rabbit friends may technically count, but besides the masked man, their leader seems to have at least one other acting agent. I cannot say who this person may be, but it would seem they are a talented craftsman at any rate. Oh, and before you jump to conclusion, I'm not speaking of that little brat. It will seem the person I speak of possesses a different kind of genius than he does. George, a talented craftsman. George, that sounds George. That's putting some unpleasant ideas in my head. George! In any event, Alberich and the Chancellor are probably connected. And it's unlikely to be brought the Intelligent Division or his children. With the incident of last night, things may have already been put in motion. No. Why do you say that? Last night we finally decoded the black records that we found the other day. Oh, the black records are a collection of particular types of artifacts sometimes found in Arabonia. I was actually exchanging information about them with Rin. Really? When did that happen? Right before all of you graduated, he revealed his true identity to me. He told me not to tell anyone. I hope you don't hold it against me. Father Thomas. You probably took advantage of Rin's sense of responsibility, didn't you? Well, I can't deny it. In any event, this is what the update Black Record said.
When the sacrifice is made and the ancient blood flows, the path to the Grawl of Erebos shall open.
Oh, that was the sacrifice.
When the tainted holy beast is pierced by the blade of World's End, and its blood fills the Grawl, the great twilight shall fall upon the land.
When the tainted holy beast is pierced by the blade of World's End, and its blood fills the Grawl, the great twilight should fall upon the land. Tainted holy beast. What? That... The timing is too perfect. It's as if the prophecy were written about our current situation. If the ancient blood is referring to the Emperor, no way. Then is the sacrifice referring to Ash? What about the Grawl and the blade? The Grawl is probably related to the Septial Church and the tainted holy beast. Father Thomas, could that be? Yes, as was stated earlier, Gaius. There is a sacred place beneath this cathedral, the Primal Ground, a facility that was designed to play a major role after the Great Collapse. 900 years ago, when Heimdall was shrouded in darkness, it retreated beneath here and disappeared. Disappeared? I hear about such a facility in Liber. Yes, there's one beneath the Grace Cathedral in Liber too. However, when Heimdall was retaken, the space beneath the cathedral was buried by rock. But what if it didn't disappear and simply transferred somewhere else instead? So it still exists? The holy beast mentioned in the prophecies like the holy beast of Earth. As I said before, it disappeared after the disaster. It's only speculation, but I believe the dark dragon you faced the other day was merely a servant of the true holy beast. Wait a minute. Are you saying that the dark dragon wasn't the cause of everything? Though it was indeed a powerful cryptid, it was not something the witches and the genomes could not take care of together. If the holy beast gave birth to the dark dragon and is still alive somewhere, where else could it be out the Primal Ground? All of the conditions set forth in the prophecy are lining up. This has got to be a joke. Regarding this blade of World's End that defeats the holy beast, in other scripted it is called the Originator Zero. I'm speculating that it's a special weapon created by the Black Workshop. What in the world? At the very least, it probably isn't anything like what the boss uses. Do you think it's made of Zemuria ore like the weapon used by the Divine Knights? That will seem the most likely. What?
Muse?
Come on, it's time for you to Help.
Is something the matter?
Oh?
You realize something?
Right now, we need any straw we can grasp at.
Come on, Muse.
Anything at all could help, no matter how small.
Yes, you're right.
Oh my god.
That term. Originator Zero. Could that be OZ, perhaps?
That's what the Black Workshop called Millium and Altina.
They're model numbers. OZ.
Oh, what are you talking about?
Wait, don't tell me that they are the blade.